got Jonathan in Casa Grande, Arizona, and they've got you marked as a Christian, but no topic. You're on with Tracy and Claire.
Hi, Tracy. Hi, Claire.
Hey.
Hello.
Just real quick, because I was listening to the last call. I don't know how you guys do it, honestly.
Well, I didn't. I started screaming and hung up the phone. I'm not sure I did much different than a lot of folks would have done. Right?
Oh, yeah, I know. You guys have a tremendous amount of patience.
Yeah, and we won't saddle you with the last caller. You have your own beliefs, and you're calling to talk about what?
Yeah. There's several episodes that I've seen that you've kind of, when the topic of the cosmological argument, stuff like that comes up, and the whole universe from nothing and stuff like that. I've heard you say stuff like, "What is nothing?" Like there's no example of nothing, and I'm just curious, can you kind of give me an idea, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, to me, the way that nothing is used in that context is sort of illogical contradiction, right? So what happens to me is somebody says before all of this universe, there was nothing. And I don't know what that means because I don't know how nothing could be. Was means it was, what is a to be state, and I don't think that it could be because being is existence. So if something existed, how could it be nothing? Mm-hmm. And that hangs me up.
Yeah. And it hangs me up too. But
then what I think is, if existence is necessary, if even nothing exists, then doesn't that mean there's no need for a creator?
I'm sorry, could you ask that one more time? I'm not sure I understood.
If there's no such thing as non-existence, what needs to be created? We already have existence, right? I mean, if existence is all that could ever be, then what would be being created?
Honestly, I don't know.
I don't know either. That's what I'm saying. I'm not, this isn't like some people sometimes think I'm doing this as some tricky, I'm being the clever atheist, but it's not. This is I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And I don't, it might, I'm the first one to say, I mean, I've heard about the physics of nothing and how there's these wave states or whatever it is. And I'm sorry if I butchered it with that phrase. I don't know. I'm always, I'm not the physicist. And I know that they're saying there's this something that they label nothing as a proprietary jargonistic thing. And I don't have an objection to that. But that's not what usually is being meant when people are having a theological discussion. They're saying you believe there was nothing. And I'm no, I can't even imagine nothing. I don't even, and it's not even a lack of, I can't imagine it, therefore it can't be possible. What I'm saying is that how would that be if it can't be or if it wasn't? That's the part that blows my mind.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah, because I not to be on that train where people are oh, it's just semantics or whatever, you're just playing word games or being dishonest or something like that. I believe you're sincere in what you're saying. But it's just the way that, like you said, I don't, nothing can be because it's describing something that is, stuff like that.
Yeah, be wouldn't even make sense. You couldn't even use the be verbs. How could you?
Yeah.
You'd almost have to say everything wasn't. Right? I mean, you'd have to describe it in some kind of term like that. And even if you did, then if a person said, well, then what was? And nothing was. And now you're back to the same place. Yeah, it's like a loop, I mean, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, so it just kind of seemed maybe saying say pre-Big Bang, there was nothing, and then saying, well, what does that mean or what is nothing? It always sounded to me like it was kind of a question that didn't make sense to me, saying, give me an example of nothing. Because wouldn't that mean you're giving me an example of something?
Yes, it would. Nothing seems to be a contextual thing, right? If I say a bowl is empty, there's nothing in it. It just means that, it's got no contents as far as what people would expect there to be in a bowl, right? I mean, that's as much meaningful context as I can wrap around nothing. And I think this might be why people, think about it and they're like, this is so mysterious, because it is a little mind-blowing. And if I was high right now, I'd be like freaking out. Like, So, yeah, to me, it's not just a semantic thing. It's like a logical contradiction thing. And it may be a problem with language, right? Like, it could be just a problem with the language that can't wrap around something like that. I don't know.
But I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's not. I'm not trying to do a gotcha thing. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just literally, I don't get it. And when people try to explain to me, when they try to explain it, I usually just see them basically finding, other ways of describing things that were that weren't, or that couldn't be, because being would be right?
Something.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something of a paradox. Like an example, like I kind of thought of, I think the other day, where I was thinking about it, was to ask for an example of nothing. To me, was kind of like the equivalent of saying, if somebody asked, well, what did Tom say? And then you said nothing, and someone said, well, give me an example of not saying anything. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, you could say, I asked him what he had for breakfast today, and he just sat there, didn't speak. I could describe Tom not saying anything, which would be the same as saying, saying nothing, because that's how we would understand it, as he did not say anything. But to me, if I say, everything wasn't, and I'm like, could that be?
Yeah, why wouldn't that fit the same way?
Because it's a totality, right? Like, it's a there's no context in which there would be an expectation. So when you say there is, we've got everything, but what if everything wasn't? And then it, to me, raises the question, then what would be?
If there wasn't anything...
If everything wasn't, what?
Yeah. So if there wasn't anything, to ask what would there be, kind of, again, that, like... It gives me a headache.
Yeah, me too. And that's the thing. I'm not saying that I'm brilliant or that this is clever, and it might be something really that simple that I'm not getting. I'm not, making...
No, I love analogies more than anyone, probably, but I don't think there's any analogy that works here, because no matter what you come up with, it's a something.
It's a contextual thing.
Tom not saying anything.
Yeah.
I have seen people not say anything before. That's a real thing.
And like, the bowl can be empty, and it's never, we could always make an argument that there is, technically always something in that space. But it has to do with the meaning of it, right? Like, what we mean by it. Does it have apples? Does it have a screwdriver? Does it have, what's in the bowl? There's nothing in the bowl just means that it doesn't have contents in the sense of what people would expect. But that's not what we're saying when we say that there's no thing, right? No thing at all. And I don't know what to make of it. It's a little bit beyond my ken personally, and that's all I can say. And if that's a shortcoming of my ken's, I'm not saying that it couldn't be.
Yeah, and honestly, like, if there is no God, and there was a point in, like, time, or that's hard to say, but if there was at some point nothing, that would be remarkable. And, like, I can't remember where
I'd like to see that, nothing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I would like to see what the nothing looks like.
I read a quote sometime where, sorry, I have a cold.
That's all right.
I read a quote sometime somewhere, I can't remember who it was, said that whether God exists or does not exist, they're equally amazing. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. I kind of agree with that.
I think it's a deepity, but...
I think it's a deepity, too.
Is it a deepity or a deepity? I don't know.
I call it a deepity.
Anyway.
It's just it's ridiculous.
Well, was that it? Because we got a lot of calls lined up, or was there anything else? Was it just the nothing strangeness?
One more thing real quick.
Okay.
No, just one thing real quick. The special pleading fallacy, that doesn't necessarily, like, even if something is a special pleading, like, fallacy, it doesn't necessarily mean that what the fallacy is representing is necessarily true, right?
I don't even know what you just asked.
So, to give an example of, like, someone saying, I believe that God is the cause of the universe. Well, what caused God? Well, nothing. He's timeless. Or uncaused. That would be special pleading, right?
Yeah, if you're going to say that the universe has to have a cause because nothing can be uncaused, and then say the thing that caused it was uncaused, that would be a problem, yes.
Okay. But it's like in that example, it's because it's a special pleading fallacy, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not true, though, right?
Well, no, it means that it's faulty in that the reason you're saying a creator is needed is because there can't be uncaused things. And then you're saying there's an uncaused thing that caused the things. And so what's happening is you're creating a need for a creator by saying that things can't be uncaused, and then you're plugging in something that's uncaused. So there's something wrong. The original claim is either wrong because there are things that are uncaused, in which case you used to say there are things that could be uncaused, and I think there is one that caused other things, such as this universe.
Mm-hmm.
It strikes me as being like a magic trick where they're like, see?
But when you ask,
I've got something up my sleeve.
But when you ask, like, why do you think that a God
there.
created the universe? If your answer is because everything has to have a cause, then you have a problem. Or all things that begin to exist have to have a cause is kind of how they try to work around it. All things that begin to exist have a cause, and God never began to exist. And it's like, okay, well, then I got to figure out, did the universe always exist and it's just been changing? And it's just in this current incarnation, and we just don't know how to backtrack it to see what was before. I mean, I don't know. These are big physics questions.
If there is no God, though, and the universe did have a beginning, it's the Big Bang.
Okay. Is
it unreasonable? Given the evidence that we have for like cosmology and stuff like that? Is it unreasonable to believe that the universe must have had a cause?
I think that in general, physicists would say that it does have a cause. This is kind of outside my range.
Yeah.
But I would say that generally the Big Bang is put forward as the cause. And usually there's a good essay, I don't know if it's still timely, but it was written by Stephen Hawking called, what is it, the universe... It's about time in the universe, and I'm trying to think of what it was. Beginning of time, maybe? Let me just Google this real quickly.
Yeah. If you've seen Neil deGrasse Tyson's Cosmos series, I can't remember which episode it's in, but he covers this quite brilliantly. I feel...
No, I haven't. I'll definitely look for that. Though.
Yeah, I do, because it's the first time that I ever felt close to understanding infinity, which is a bizarre thing, the way that it was presented.
Okay. Here it is. It's called The Beginning of Time. It was written by Stephen Hawking, and it was written with lay people in mind. It was helpful to me, and the part that he talks about the beginnings of the universe, he basically just says that because there's not a capacity to look past Big Bang into the past, that you can't, you might as well just consider it a blank page, right? Like there's nothing there to consider. And until there is, it's a blank page, and then we have the start of our universe. So he's not really speculating in that lecture about what happened prior to the start of this universe. He's saying that because he has no good information about that time, there is no point to speculation. And so you might as well just talk about what you can talk about and leave the speculation to a time when we have more information, if that ever happens.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to look at it.
I mean, I kind of am like, if I don't have information, let me go, worry about things I do have information about.
Yeah.
I mean, when you don't... Yeah, good. We're good.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys talking with me. I have watched you guys for, well over 10 years, and I love watching you guys. You guys have the best discussions. And we have some kooky people who believe stuff that we believe. And I love watching you guys talk to them. And, oh, my God, I'm sorry. Can I just say, one more thing real quick? And I'll jump right off.
Real quick.
Okay. I don't know how long it's been since he's called in. I don't know. I haven't seen anything recently. The guy who called himself like Mark and Andrew and I think Matthew.
Oh, yeah.
Promoting.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, my gosh. How it's like people who believe the stuff that I believe, they have some kooky reasons for believing it. And honestly, I do too, probably. I don't want to say I'm not one of them, because I'm sure I am. But my God, you guys have just the best way of handling people who quite obviously have the most ridiculous reasons for believing what they do.
Well, thanks very much. And with that, we're going to let you go. We're going to move on.